There are 5 events in our nation's history that I believe accurately represent how our national identity has been shaped by its past. The one I've ranked 5th is D-Day. The historical perspective of D-Day gives insight into how it shaped our identity as a country. At the time, many people felt proud of the soldiers who were willingly risking their lives for the country and working to end the years-long war. On the other hand, others felt anxious and concerned as they awaited news of the invasion's outcome. They knew of the riskiness of this operation and how many casualties it may cause. How we feel about this event now is that it was a pivotal moment in World War II that not only put the Allied forces on the path to victory, but displayed Canadians' bravery, determination, and willingness to fight for their country. How this event shows Canadian identity is that it displays Canadians' determination and the extent they go to fight for those that could not fight for themselves. The Canadian soldiers went into this battle knowing many of them would not leave. Despite this, they gave their all and it paid off, with Canadian contributions to D-Day being critical in the invasion's success. The 4th event that shaped our identity is the MS St. Louis, which was a boat of Jewish refugees that came to Canada to escape the Holocaust but was forced to return to Europe where many of them died. The main causes of this event were Canada's anti-Semitic views and restrictive immigration policies. After the Great Depression, the economic crisis and high unemployment rates caused citizens to be concerned about competition for jobs and resources. As a result, the government limited immigration. The main consequence of this event was that many Jewish immigrants seeking refuge were denied entry to Canada, meaning they were forced to return to Europe, causing many avoidable deaths. Along with this, Canada became known as one of the worst Allied countries to accept Jewish immigrants. This led to strong public opinion urging Canada to change their restrictive policies, prompting much-needed change and leading to the making of the Displaced Persons Act. This shows that the consequence of this event was the development of the Canadian identity that embraces multiculturalism and is a safe haven for refugees. The 3rd event is residential schools, and there's a primary source that represents their significance. The importance of the source is that it displays the assimilation that occurred in residential schools and how they took away Indigenous children's culture and traditions. This photo compares how a boy looked before and after entering the school. His long hair was cut, he is no longer wearing traditional clothing, and he has had his culture taken from him. This showcases how residential schools attempted to assimilate children, which resulted in a loss of identity and a cultural disconnect. Residential schools portray Canada's unfortunate past where there are many instances of assimilation and cultural genocide. Canada used to be a country where multiculturalism was prohibited, and there's a very specific ideology about what it meant to be Canadian. What this showcases about Canada's identity is that it has not been linear, and over time the nation has grown into one that embraces other cultures rather than prohibiting them. The Persons Case is the 2nd event. The Persons Case meant that women could no longer be denied rights based on an interpretation of the law and would finally be seen as people. This event showcases what has changed in Canada over time as it portrays the evolution in how women are treated, coming from a time they weren't recognized as people to the rights they have today. This event also showcases what has stayed the same in Canada, as it represents how when Canadians feel they are being mistreated, they stand up for their rights. The Persons Case reflects Canadian identity because it is a pivotal moment in Canadian history that reflects the nation's commitment to equality, justice, and diversity. This case underscores Canada's dedication to equality and the belief that all individuals should have equal rights and opportunities. While the Persons Case specifically addressed gender equality, it is part of a broader narrative of Canada recognizing and addressing issues related to diversity and inclusion. The most important event in our history that shaped our nation's identity is the Constitution Act. The Constitution Act was historically significant because it granted Canada full control over its constitution, including the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. This marked a step in Canada's journey towards full sovereignty and reinforced the protection of rights. This event is historically significant as it resulted in change and affected many people. This change was long-lasting as it is still a pivotal part of Canada's constitution and allowed for Canada to become the country it is today. This event is the most important in shaping our national identity because it symbolized a shift towards greater independence for Canada, allowing for the development of a distinct national identity. Canada's identity is shaped around it being a society that values the rights and freedoms of its citizens, which this act and the Charter of Rights and Freedoms led to. There were indefinitely cases of mistreatment and discrimination in Canada's past, but this act symbolizes the growth from this which shaped Canada into the multicultural society it is today. To conclude, based on these events that have shaped our national identity, we can call ourselves a welcoming and multicultural nation, because although these events display how Canada was once a nation against this ideology, the country has developed since then, and these events allowed it to. These events highlighted the need for change in Canada, and although they represent a dark chapter in our history, it was a chapter that was necessary to get us to where we are today. We are a multicultural society because of these events that showcased how we were not, as they encouraged Canada to change.